Welcome to the Businessmen and Women of Color podcast. I am your host, Ann Alston, and it is once again my pleasure to bring these quality programs to all of you who are out there listening. Welcome to the BMWOC. We are back again in 2019. For the fourth year in a row. This is definitely a platform that you need to be on if you missed the previous years. And if you have missed the previous years, please make sure you go to bmwocpodcast.com and catch up on all of the other podcasts from 2016 all the way to 2018. Just in case you didn't know, the purpose of the BMWOC podcast is to not only share our industry information, but we are unifying our businesses while we are helping those who are looking to seek a career or business in these fields. So please make sure that you go to all of the pages that are going to be on here. We're going to have 58 participants, not to mention our corporate sponsors, which we have one on the line right now ready to give us her update of what's going on. And I want you to also check out all the podcasts that's going on. Please like, share, and make sure that you vote for your favorite podcast. We have up for grabs again this year, 7 awards going out to the different participants from best author to best motivational podcast, you name it, you see it on the website. So make sure that you like, listen, and vote. Well, before we get started today with our interview with our corporate sponsor, we want to first thank our corporate sponsors for making this possible for us. And they are My Financial Home, Evangelism Radio, JNF Enterprises, Sears Consulting, Autism Families Rock, Awakening to Love, Eli Natoli, Kimberly McLemore, True Synergy, and Platinum Financial Services, along with all of our other participants who's helping to make this season a success. So as I said at the top of the hour, that I am really excited to have a comeback from 2018, Miss April Lisbon, ED, now coming here. She is our corporate sponsor, Autism Families Rock. And I'm just going to read a little bit of her bio. And if you get a chance, please go to the 2018 and check out her first podcast that she had when she talked about psychology. And we're going to find out what's up with her. But I'm going to read a little bit of her bio for those who haven't joined the podcast before so that you can get to know who April is. Born in New York, but raised in the beautiful island of Virgin Islands, April has worked tirelessly to advocate for the needs of children. Her passion for children began when she was a teenager working at a local orphanage, which then led to her initial journey as an educator at the Florida State University. Dr. Lisbon is an active public education school psychologist and mentor to new teachers. Out of her passion for families, Dr. Lisbon has embarked on a journey to help families and caregivers relieve their fears associated with caring for children with exceptional needs. As a family coach and empowerment speaker who helps motivate and equip families for children, she also acknowledged how to purposely develop and practice self-care while passionately living a healthier lifestyle in their careers. So I want you guys to continue reading her bio because she has some really interesting background, including her books, which she's going to talk about as well. So April, welcome to the podcast, girl.
Yes, glad to be back. Glad to be back.
Yes, you are back. That's right. You can't get enough of the BOWC. And thank you so very much for being a corporate sponsor. I so appreciate you. And you know what? For those who have never heard of you before, just go ahead and just hit off a little background. And then we're going to get right into what have you been doing since last year?
All right, sounds good. So, once again, aside from being a family coach, author, empowerment speaker, and a school psychologist, I am also the mother of a child, of 3 children. One of my children actually has high functioning autism. So I have really, since the last podcast, I have really been embracing my space and my position as an autism advocate, and specifically in the role of a coach strategist for families and organizations who want to better support the needs of any individual on the spectrum. Because one of the things that I've continued to learn through my journey is that autism just doesn't end once a child graduates from high school. It continues on until, they die. That's just the reality. And so my vision for myself and the work that I do as far as serving people is to ensure that individuals on the spectrum are given a fair shake at life and more importantly, that their parents' voices are heard, you know, throughout every industry, whether it be schools, whether it be jobs, parents' voices need to be heard as well. So that's kind of sort of a little bit more
Wow.
about me now.
Awesome and awesome. And if anybody wants to hear more in detail about April's background, please make sure that you go to the BMWOC podcast and go to the 2018 and listen to that one. She has a lot of information directly related to psychology. So, April, what have you been up to since the last time you was on the podcast? I am seeing you all over social media. You are just blowing the place up. So, I can't wait for you to talk about what in the world are you doing out there that is impacting people, because everything I'm seeing that you're doing is highly positive, and I just can't say enough about what I'm seeing. So, tell everybody what you've
Yes.
been up to.
Yeah, so since almost a year ago, one of the things that I have launched is my Blog Talk radio show, which is Embracing Autism with Dr. April. And that has afforded me the ability to bring guest experts from different industries, whether it be relationship coach, counselors or therapists, nutritionists, exercise physiologists, anything you can think of. We have literally brought the best of the best experts to help parents, and just not parents of children with autism, but just parents in general of children with special needs, on ways that they can create harmony in every area of their lives. And sometimes, one of the things living this life, it's very difficult for parents of children with special needs to really take time for themselves beyond just getting a haircut or beyond just going to get their nails done. And so these individuals have really broken down the why for families to understand that it's not an option, it's a mandate. If you don't get it done today, it's going to impact you tomorrow, which then impacts your family. So really bringing home those people to really, hit hard and let people know it has to get done. So that's one thing that has happened. um,
Wow.
Another thing that has happened is that my speaking opportunities have increased since, doing a lot of the BMW OC First podcast. So I had an opportunity to speak about mental health awareness in Dallas, Texas in August. Out of that, I then had an opportunity to speak with international award-winning professional speaker Cheryl Woods for her inaugural A Woman's Narrative, which really speaks about, the pain points that women go through and how we are able to triumph from victim to victor. Within that process, I then am now an ambassador for a very well-known social media influencer. And once again, that was all based on my platform of autism. Another person who I'm now connected to is I'm going to be a speaker for the Run Women's Conference in July, with the keynote speaker being Les Brown, who is an international motivational speaker. And then in October, I will be headed to Atlanta, Georgia for the Daring Women's Conference inaugural event. So it seems like
Wow.
I'm still functioning in the role of a school psychologist. Everything
Mhm.
else is starting to take shape. And then I also released my third book. So yeah, so there has been
Wow.
a lot that has happened within
Oh
the
my
last year.
goodness. Okay. Okay. I'm gonna have to slow you down. You are on fire, April. I'm telling you. Okay, I noticed that now you have a new logo, a new statement. How did you come up with, autism families rock? And then you have a statement under there. And can you kind of explain how you kind of came up with that and what's the passion and mission behind the statement after your logo?
Yes, yes, yes. So, my foundational business is running your race. And so that's based on, I'm just going to paraphrase the scripture, the race is not to the swift or to the strong, but to those who endure to the end. And so, as I think through this autism journey, there are so many highs and lows that come with this process, that no matter how much I think I've overcome or our family has overcome something, there's always another valley that we have to go through. And so we're always climbing and always digging. And sometimes some days are better than other days. So when I really looked at it, I was like, well, what is it about our family that works? And that was when, everybody was like, black girls rock, this girl rock. And I'm like, yeah, I'm like, we're powerful. But then when I really started thinking about it, especially when it comes to children with families of children with special needs, and autism is that we are really our kids' rock. We are really the foundation that our children stand on in order to feel grounded and planted in a world that doesn't get them. And so we hold the space for our children. We give them the ability to be perfectly indifferent, and it's okay. And so when I saw that, I'm like, yes, I am my child's foundation. His brother is his foundation, his sister is his foundation, his grandma, every person that supports him is a rock because we create stability for him. And so not only is it related to my son, but all other children who are on the spectrum. And then the empowering families to run this race. Once again, this is the reason why I stress the this out of everything, is because this really is a challenging journey. As I always tell people, if you ask any parent of a child on the spectrum, there are two things that they will always say. One, I can count maybe on one hand the amount of family members or friends that have a child with autism. So it's a lonely journey. It's a lonely journey. We don't have a lot of people that we can connect with that get it. And two, they'll probably also tell you that there's some times that they want to run away from home and they want to quit it. They just literally want to quit this journey because it's just too much. One, like I said before, 1 minute you think you've been successful and you've hit a turning point, and then the next month or 2 months later, it's almost like you're starting all over again. So it's like a hamster that's constantly turning in a wheel, and you get frustrated. And so it causes you to question, do I really have what it takes to be an autism mom, to be an autism dad, to even be an autism grandparent? And so that's why I say this is because this race belongs to all of us, not just one person. And we, as people in the autism community, we have to basically start taking off that superhero cape and start asking for support and understand it's okay to ask for help. This journey wasn't meant to be perfect, and a doggone sure was not meant to be done alone. And so
Mhm.
that's my big thing, is to really teach us how to create that support system that's necessary in order for us to function whole versus part of the person.
Absolutely. Absolutely, absolutely. And I love the way that you put it together and say, all these companies and all these groups are going around saying that they rock, and why not autism families rock?
Yeah.
You guys are powerful, and I do think that there is so much support, and as you said, it's either not enough or people are not connecting enough. And so, my favorite word is collaboration. So I want to encourage anyone out there that's looking to support this type of thing that April is talking about just now in terms of her passion and behind Autism Family Rocks, Run Your Race, definitely connect with her, because as you can hear, we can always use more information or more assistance in this area. So outside of the logo and everything, this logo, this newfound thing that you have found since last year, has literally propelled your speaking, your booking, and all this type of stuff just by having this theme that you're carrying and letting people know about autism and all of the different things that can be done or helped or assisted with. What has been the impact since last year, since talking to all these new places and people? What has been the impact and the outcome from some of that?
You know what? I will be honest with you. When I was initially not going to share it with people, just because there's a part of the autism community where there's still some shame and guilt surrounding the disability. And so I really didn't know how people would take it. And so when I started being more comfortable with my logo and my brand and who I am, when I got those opportunities, I was really surprised that anyone would even be interested in it because of the stigma that just comes with autism. So even you yourself, you start to dumb it down and start to question it. But because they have embraced it and people are interested in it, once again, it just gives me more visibility to talk to other people about the platform, people who I would have never connected with or been able to connect with in, starting out as a newbie, business professional. The idea of autism and what autism is all about is opening its own doors. I'm just Just the best way. I'm just going along for the ride, if that makes sense. And so, like I said, besides the speaking engagement and being an ambassador for someone's brand because of the logo and because of what I'm doing, people are really interested in learning more about autism, and not just autism in and of itself, but autism within Black families. And I think that's something that's not really talked about, that's not often seen. But when you have people who are in the profession, whether it be, education or clinicians, but they're also Black people that have kids with autism, it's like, oh my gosh, that's a whole new world because, no offense, more times than not, when you see children on the spectrum, and I know this as an evaluator for special ed, few and far between are kids who are African American or brown, diagnosed with autism because they're always seen as having behavior issues. And so here I am waving a red flag and saying, no, our kids do have autism. And people are really invested in that because it's like, oh my gosh, you guys really do exist. So we want to give you a platform to speak on it so that more African Americans and more Hispanics and Latinos can really get out there and say, okay, there's people like us that exist, and it's okay for us to share our story. And so that's what has happened. It's just opening up an opportunity to share the story that it is okay to be Black, that it is okay to be brown and have a child with autism. Because we do have
Wow, it sounds like that now you're saying is what I'm hearing is that there's a new revolution out there for people with autism to speak up and be proud and be happy and to collaborate with each other and bring awareness to other people to let them know it's okay to have autism. I definitely applaud you for going up the hill because that is a hill. That's a battle right there, April. That's a battle.
yes.
Okay. And especially for minority families in
Mhm,
general,
mhm.
not being accepted. And I think over the last year or two, there has been this uprising for diversity inclusion more than ever now.
Yeah,
Not just autism, but in all different areas in which diversity and inclusion could be a factor. And so I think a lot of people are starting to recognize that. I would say, even on the podcast platform, that we have people talking about blended families, blended marriages, all different types of stuff where inclusion is really important to the community.
absolutely. I agree with
Mhm.
you 100%. So, like I said, it's just an amazing opportunity. And, like I tell people, it took me a while to get to this point. I did not want to make this my brand. I did not want to build my business around autism. But the reality is, it's only so far that you can run away from what you're destined to do. And
Mhm.
I think after chasing so many business opportunities and failing at those opportunities, I'm like, okay, what am I called to do on the earth? And once I finally accepted it was about autism and, coming from a psychological perspective and my experience, and with mental health awareness and all that good stuff, it's like, yeah, that's what things really started to happen. Before I was, like I said, before I was embracing the autism journey, no one was really calling me. No one knew who I was. I couldn't even get a sale for anything. And now I'm actually seeing people invested in what I'm saying, invested in what I'm doing, people supporting me, and it's like I said, it's a beautiful thing. Autism
Mhm.
has a mind of its own. So
Okay. So speaking of from a business perspective, doing this kind of work and traveling to all of these places, I'm pretty sure there's going to be some people listening to this podcast recording and wanting to step out and do the same thing. Can you speak on from a business perspective how difficult it is just to start this process and to just kind of keep at it when you're not really experienced in it, but you have this huge passion behind it? Because it is different,
it is.
and a lot of people feel that they can do it, but let's get to the real for real. How difficult is it just to kind of climb this hill that you're on?
You know what? I had to get to the point where I was okay with not being perfect on this journey. Like I tell people, I watch a lot of professional speakers, and they have great stories and great lines, and and they know how to get the people to the crescendo and bring them back and things of that nature. And I was just me. But I had to get to a point where I realized that me is good enough. because I do have a story to tell. And it's all about getting people, I won't even say to buy into your story, but getting people to believe your story, meaning that, oh my gosh, I can actually visually see you walking this process out. Oh my goodness. I can see this happening to, although my son and my daughter doesn't have autism, but I can see how this impacted my child who may have struggled in school. When people are able to visually see and connect with your story, as though it were their own, they're more apt to invest in you. But the thing is, you have to be willing to invest in yourself in the process. There have been some opportunities, where I question, oh my gosh, I'm going to be on the big stage with well known people. How will I fit? People don't know anything about me, but it's the story. If you have a story that people can embrace, they can love, they can feel like they can champion the cause, then people will work with you. People will want to align themselves with you, because more times than not, people see you more than you see yourself, because we're always looking for our flaws. Other people who invest in you, and I say invest in you because you invested in me too, people who actually invest in you see your potential more than you do, so that the next time they see you doing something, they want to align themselves with you because they see the passion, they see the power, and they see the potential. But it's not just potential of staying stagnant, it's the potential to make things happen, to become a change agent in your space. And so that's what I had to do. I just crafted me as me, speaking based on what I know, being passionate about it, but once again, creating that storyline so that other people can connect it in some part of their life, even if they don't have a child with autism, even if they don't know someone with autism, but they know someone who struggled, they know someone who's had a difficult child. They too may have been that difficult child at one point in time, but just creating that storyline will foster people to want to align themselves with you, and then they will continue to support you every step of your journey. Once the opportunity has ended, and
Hmm. Hmm.
when it continues again. So
And so, do you think that from a business structure standpoint, that they should start a nonprofit when they try to go that route and listening to all of the advice that you just gave?
you know what? Honestly, I don't even have a nonprofit, which I don't. But people are like, "Oh my gosh, that Autism Families Rock sounds like it's a nonprofit." I'm like, "Not yet,
Not yet. Okay, because
not
I
yet."
want to keep that in mind too, because I don't think that everybody has to have like a full structured business to do what you're doing. But I do feel that, having a business and having a structured business will bring a little bit more, credibility. It also brings sponsorships and more collaboration and things of that nature. So I think that for anybody who is listening to this podcast to really, rewind this recording several times to get those points that April was talking about and figure out how you fit into the scheme of things and how and what type of business structure that you want to have going forward, because that definitely going to affect how people perceive you and how they, get you to come in and speak and things of that nature. I think more and more people are stepping out and doing all different types of ways of awareness and business and things of that nature. And you know what, April, I think that the legal structures are going to go away in the next 20 years, to be honest with
Right.
you, the way things are going. Really, I think maybe in the next 20 years that there won't be an LLC or such a nonprofit and all that kind of stuff. That's
Mhm.
just my prediction, because people are doing so many things and it's getting to the point where it doesn't even matter now.
I agree.
Um, and I do think that maybe the tax part for businesses is going to change. So it doesn't matter if you're this sort of structure because of technology as well. That's why I'm making my prediction.
And I agree with you 100% with that, because you don't have to have an LLC or nonprofit to be online, to make money online. That's just the reality of it all.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
but,
Oh
you
yeah.
know, I agree with you with that 100%. But you know what? One of the things that I tell people is find the structure that works for you for where you are.
Hmm.
And so when I think through my brand, it's still brand new for me. Like I said, I have just, as I call it, just been rolling it out since November when I signed up for consideration to be an ambassador. But yeah, so I really don't know. how I want to see it unfold. So when I think about the name of it, it definitely does sound like a nonprofit organization. But I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to stick with
Mhm.
the name. I don't know if I'm going to evolve with the name as our family evolves.
Mhm.
So it just really all depends. But I just know for this space, I just see it as a call out that this has to be done.
Mhm.
You have to see us. And so that's what I'm
Mhm.
saying. Right now, it's not a nonprofit, but I can see the more I am out and visible, I can
Mhm.
then see it turn into a nonprofit in the future.
Well, it's definitely a really nice brand. I love the logo, and thanks for sharing that portion of it. So let's get into this new book that you got coming out. Okay, so you already had your other books that you talked about last year in the podcast. So what is the new book that you got going on this time?
Yes. So I think the last time we talked, I was on my second book, which was Autism in April, wherein I did win an international award for best in parenting. So that was exciting.
Wow!
Thank
Congratulations.
you, thank you, thank you. And once again, I think more times than not, we downplay what we have in our hands in comparison to what other people need. And so, if nothing else, I want people to that are listening to understand. Don't downplay your gifts just because you don't feel like it's enough. What you have in your hands is more than enough to save someone else's life, to change someone else's situation. So never downplay what you have in your hands and the gifts that you are called to do. The other book that I did um,
Mhm.
was released in October, and that that book is entitled "Unmasking the Trauma: School Bullying and Children with
Mm.
Special Needs." And
Wow.
I will tell you that was a hard book to write, and so I couldn't write it by myself. I literally had to get several other co-authors to actually complete the book because all of my books are very personal to me. But this one, the third one, impacted my family the most because it happened to my son with autism. And so, as that parent, as that educator, I felt like I was the only person in the world that had been experiencing it. So I could only get up to the first 10 pages and then I stopped writing the book. I was like, I can't do this on my own. It's too emotional. So I did a call and got a lot of people to participate. And I will tell you, Ann, and to your listening audience, it was so amazing to read people's stories, but it was also unnerving to know that we all of our children in one form or another had the same experiences. Different parents, different kids, different locations, same trauma. And not only was it
Mhm.
traumatic for the children, but also for the families. I mean, I think even though our
Mhm.
kids seem to kind of sort of roll over it for a period of time, all of the parents are still reliving it. And I'm like, oh my gosh,
Mhm.
I have found my people. But it's sad because it's like, we the
Mhm.
parents feel that trauma too as it's unfolding in our kids. So for me, it was another woosah moment, but more again something that we really have to start talking about in schools, because as I learned through the process of the book and through just even one of the co-authors was a former school principal, and he was like, yeah, we don't spend money on mental health and bullying. That doesn't make money. And I was like, I wanted to be like, wait a minute, what you mean I don't make money? You're talking about
Mhm.
children, you're talking about the emotional well-being. He was like, that doesn't turn a profit, that's not a turnkey profit, so we're not going to
Mhm.
invest in it. And I'm just like, so are
Well,
you?
you know what, April, I can understand a little bit of that because some of these businesses and some of these schools, they are based on grants and things of that nature. But I do feel that the school has some responsibility to make sure that children are safe. Whether they have autism or not, there seems to be this thing where people turn a blind eye when they know that it's going on because either they're afraid of what's going to happen or they're afraid that this big uproar is going to happen. Because think about the news media. It's like one whiff of something going on in the school and it's all over the country on every news channel. So people are, this is just my opinion. I just kind of feel like a lot of people are kind of being tight lipped about it. But at the same time, it is sad. because to me, I have this thing where, I don't want kids to get bullied. I know someone right now who has a child with autism, and she literally had to take the child out of the school because of all the bullying.
Mhm.
Um, and it doesn't matter if it's public school or private school, or, or maybe there's a tutor out there. I'm not understanding why there's such a big thing with children with autism or any child to be bullied. And if it was in my power, I will probably try to do something about it. But I'm like you, I don't understand why this is still an issue.
Yeah, I agree
Yeah,
100%. And I just, I just had an opportunity to read an article about a child who's a fourth grader. He's a little bit older, and he has special needs, out of Chicago on life support because he attempted to commit suicide because he was being bullied by teachers and classmates. And no matter how much the parent and the child followed the rules and did what was right, no one did anything until it was too late. And so now this poor mom of her 11-year-old, who's a fourth grader, is now trying to do GoFundMe's, to basically care for her child, but she may never get her child back. And so every time I just think about that book, it's almost like reliving that trauma all over again.
yeah,
So
yeah. Okay. Well, I'm so sad that, you had to go through that. Everyone knows, this is not a secret, that I was heavily bullied as well. I'm going to speak about that until I can't speak about it, because it is real. The trauma behind that is real. A lot of people think, oh, you got bullied, you should get over it. It is not something that you can get over, because you're constantly reminded of it on little things, and those feelings, they come flooding back. So no matter how much you try to forget about it, you just can't sometimes, and I think a lot of people don't understand that. But I think I think that, society is changing. There's a lot of different perspectives in terms of how people value life, in general. And I think it's going to be interesting to see what's going to be happening in the next few years as the millennials start to become more adults now.
mhm.
Um, and just seeing how people just view each other and how they value life. But I'm so glad that you did write the book, because now somebody else can, see what's going on, and it'll bring another level of awareness. So in this era of the interview now, so let's talk about, what do you need to thrive, that you already thriving? I'm pretty sure you got stuff to thrive, but what do you need personally or professionally that you think that people who are listening to you right now could help you with to continue what you're doing?
For me, I think more than anything, it's continued exposure. So if you need someone who can speak at an event when it comes to disability advocacy, or you know supporting autism families, or supporting the mental health of parents of children with special needs, then contact me. Once again, that's something I'm very very passionate about, professionally, but also personally. Um, so, once again, if there's a conference, an event, someplace where you just need an expert, like I said, please connect with me in that area. If you have any clients or people that you work with, who are to the point, as I call it, ready to divorce the special needs journey, then once again reach out to me, because I do offer coaching opportunities for families. I do both group coaching as well as individual coaching, because once again, parents, like I tell people, if parents are not mentally in the room when they're working, you're not getting the best person. You're getting a faded picture of them. And so, my hope is that by supporting them and making them feel heard and giving them back their voices, that it will then reignite who they are as a productive worker, not a worker that's working on fumes, who's basically
Hmm.
disrupting the process. So really,
Okay.
I said, yeah.
Okay. All right. So give everybody your email and contact information so they can reach out to you if they want to book you to speak, or maybe do a webinar, or just maybe just have a conversation about how you can help them with coaching.
Yes, yes. So my email address is info@advocacycoaching.com. That's info at VOCACY coaching.com. You could also reach me on Facebook. My Facebook handle is Ask Doc April. You can also reach me on LinkedIn, and that's also Ask Doc April. And then I'm also on Instagram, and my handle is Autism Coach Strategist. Yeah.
Fantastic. And so everybody, please make sure that you reach out to her and check out all the other pages that we're going to have going on this year. Also, make sure you check out 2018, 2017, and even 2016 so that you can get more information about those who are in the psychology field or other industries that you find interesting on this podcast platform. And again, I want to remind everybody to share, like, and vote for your favorite podcast interview, because we want people like April to win one of the BMWOC awards this year. And so, April, thank you again for being on this podcast platform. I really appreciate you and being a corporate sponsor to support the BMWOC and what we stand for. So thank you so much.
Yes, thank you once again for having me for year number 2. I appreciate you.